Why, hello there, and welcome to a new episode of New Meta. We're a podcast that talks about Dota 2. Did some advertising on the Reddits and the webs, so hello any new listeners, great to have you here listening with us. And by us, I mean Mr. Immortal himself, Marco. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Doing very well. Excited for another episode. I can't wait to talk positivity.
PMA winning games, yeah. And also joining us, our divine overlords, Super Bowl Sunday, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
False.
Soon to be ancient gamer. I think Marco's only fantastic because he hasn't tried solo queue yet. He hasn't played any calibration games. Once he gets in there.
Next episode, I'll give you an update of the struggles. Yeah. I'm ready for a bit of 5 games PA, 5 games anti-mage. That'll suit me.
The calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm.
Just wait. You just wait.
You wait for those 100 WhatsApp messages tomorrow where I'm crying about the losses.
Yeah, you guys had to go through mine. I mean, I was just, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna try one of these solo games.
Yeah.
How many have you done now, Adam?
I've done 5. And that was all in one chunk. I was like, I'm just gonna do one. I'm gonna pick Crystal Maiden. It's gonna be really good. My classic hero. And then
your record is what?
Well, this is the first game story. I load in, my teammate first picks Pudge, and he goes 2-19. And needless to say, lost. And I started out 0-4, and I am 1-4 currently.
Nice.
And I think the way it works in the solo calibration is everybody that really speedily or very quickly, got their 10 and got their ranking, I think their goal is to hold everyone else that's uncalibrated hostage, is what it feels like. Because it's never the uncalibrated people that are picking 4-position Monkey King and Omni Knight, just picking Omni Knight in general in a tri-lane, or first picking Pudge. And with ping, he was like, sorry guys, I have high ping, but I picked Pudge anyways. Goes 2-19. Yeah, it's been a test of my mettle, which is why this episode of the podcast is so important. PMA.
Absolutely.
See, today we're talking about the nature of solo queue, how to tame the beast, how to build a winning formula, mindset, heroes, all the rest of it. And I feel like this is the perfect time to do it because we have 3 people in 3 different mental states. We have Marco, the optimistic pre-calibration, life's great, I'm just going to pick PA, going to pick anti-mage. Nothing's happened yet. He hasn't had like a Ricky position 5 in his first
I'm in my
bubble.
Something. I'm in my sheltered bubble.
We've got me, who's finished. I went 6-4 after starting 0-2, so I gained like 150 MMR, so I'm like the other side.
That's respectable. 6-4, pretty good.
Yep, I'm the other side. I had a shower. I've cooled down. I'm ready for like normal Dota season now. I've been through the storm, the 0-2 start. And then finally we've got Adam, who's wrapped up in uncalibrated conspiracies. He's like out to sea, can barely see the shore. He's like halfway through his journey. His
eyes are twitching like crazy. He's like rocking back and forth after these losses.
I just feel all the hard work, all the support games I grinded to get up and feel them slowly falling away. My points 3 times as fast because of calibration.
It's actually so rough that it's 75. I'm sure it was 50 last time, or it was meant to be.
I think it was 50 last time.
Yeah, 75, like 3... A win versus a loss is 150 MMR swing. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's like bonkers.
Which can take a couple weeks to gain back.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, some big games. So yeah, we're in the perfect position to talk about the nature of solo queue, and not just the nature of solo queue. We're not going to rattle off our horror stories about solo queue, although we might do a little of that. We're going to be talking about basically how to navigate your way around solo queue, presuming you're someone that wants to climb and gain MMR points, keep your sanity while you do it, and maybe even have some fun, who knows. So I feel like we can just move straight on. I know Adam's got to go watch his like weird sport thing that's happening today in America, so I don't want to keep you too long. So I'm just going to roll right ahead.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah. So how many heroes do you need to climb? 1, 3, 4, 7?
I mean, your history shows us that you need 1 to 2. Adam shows us that you need 1 to 2. Realistically, you can do that if you want to climb.
Yeah.
With this topic, there are lots of broad questions and themes to tackle.
Yeah.
This is one we've spoken about before the inception of new meta, but the idea of what are you playing for? You're playing to get those points and rise that number, get those stars, in which case it's looking at 1 or 2 heroes, or do you look at the game more holistically and you try to adopt this, I can play POS 1 or POS 5, I can play all these heroes kind of hippie mindset?
I mean, I have my spreadsheet pulled up, the mythical spreadsheet. If we want to, basically, when I set out last season, I said I was going to play basically 2 heroes and then slowly expand it out to like 5 is what I ended up doing. And it was all 5 position is all I played for a very long time until 720 when offlane started to become more of a thing. And that I only started to do offlane once I had hit Divine 4, actually. So for the climb itself, it was all position 5. And I can just give the quick rundown. I played 69 games of Crystal Maiden and 60 games of Lich, and those were the 2 highest by far. And then I would sneak in Vengeful Spirit, 25 games. Grimstroke, when he came out, I played him 17 times. Undying, 16, and then I have 10 Silencer games. So that's like kind of 6 heroes.
And were you first picking this hero in these games?
Always. Unless it got crazy. I mean, you would every now and again you would get a game where someone else would first pick, but I had a very distinct strategy, like a whole mindset where I was going to play position 5. I was going to first pick it. I mean, who cares if you pick Crystal Maiden? No one's going to counter pick Crystal Maiden or a 5 position for the most part. And my whole thought process was, if I first pick the 5, it's going to put the whole team at ease because no one else is going to have to play 5, and no one else is going to argue over positions. Like, they can probably find 4 positions between the rest of themselves to be happy in.
That's one of the benefits of climbing with position 5 and support in general, and to an extent I think you get away with this in the offlane too. You're going to be able to play your role like 95% of games. And you can first pick it as well. So if you have one, you can climb with 1 hero, especially if you're playing position 5. You can, like you say, just pick Crystal Maiden, pick Venge or whatever the hero is, and literally play it every game. 69
games of Crystal Maiden, 67% win rate. So that was the big climb hero. And then my win rate on Lich is 60% in 60 games, but that is a little bit skewed because I have not won a game as Lich in his new form. I'm like 0-6. So before old form Lich, I was booming. Like, you know.
Yeah, you needed to steal some mana. Lich needed some mana.
Yeah, I loved the whole XP denial and then getting 6 quickly and rotating and throwing out a Chain Frost. I'm still something I gotta try and learn. But my tri-core of Lich, Crystal Maiden, and Venge all have 60+%.
Yeah,
so
that's sick, yeah.
You just gotta find heroes you're comfortable with.
While we're talking on heroes, this is a relative answer to the question of how many heroes are optimal for climbing, because it depends on your edge, your skill edge. If you give Miracle any hero in any role and put him at 2k, he's going to be able to climb to like 8k or whatever. I mean, whatever. He's basically just going to win 90% of his games. So yes, the answer is 1 in absolute terms. You just need 1 hero. But we're talking about if you have a small skill edge at your level, say you're, I don't know, whatever, you're 2k and you're trying to climb to 3k, how many heroes do you want? So we've already established position 5. 1 is absolutely fine. You can just go ahead and first pick it. Do we think it's different for the different positions? What do you think, Marco? I know you're not a 2k player, but if you're playing mid or core, at what point do you need to have a hero pool rather than just a hero?
Mid 1 or 2, you need the biggest pool, because the way I see the 3 and 4 is that you can just pick the in hero right now, the hero that's strongest, and it'll be kind of obvious what the strong hero and playstyle is in the current meta, like spam your Beastmaster or the easy Sven pick, and you can just follow the meta there. But I think with POS 1 and 2, you do have to be more adaptable because they're the heroes that are most susceptible to getting countered, right? So you've got to be able to, you can't just rely on being able to play anti-mage every game because, all right, the other team could easily pick a team that's not that weak to an anti-mage, or you might get last picks by something super aggressive that you can't keep up with. Same with your mids. You can have some mid matchups which are really favoured, and then if your skill edge is only slight and you're playing this subpar matchup, then it's much harder to take the game.
And it scales with your MMR as well. The higher you climb, the more you need to branch out, because the more skilled players are going to be, are more able to exploit the differences in the heroes. Whereas at a low level, you'll be able to exploit the other player's mistakes way more than the other player's hero, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's probably the two that you need most variety with.
Yeah,
I feel like
I totally agree.
I think in the past, the way that DotA was, if you go all the way back to DotA 1 days, you could play a mid, and the game was kind of not perfectly understood, and players and teams were just crapper because the game was newer, and you could play a mid Shadow Fiend every game, no matter the other team, you could feasibly like smash it. But I feel like now the game is way better understood and people are better players, such that with the mids, you can't just first pick Storm and expect to be able to ball it unless you're kind of smurfing a little bit. Whereas with the one, I think you could rely on just a few. If you get
definitely,
I feel like I could rely on PA, anti-mage, troll, and you could reasonably pick any one of those three in any game and get away with it.
Definitely, yeah.
9 times out of 10, maybe.
I mean, mid is the most prone to counterpicking from both sides. If you get 10th pick, you can pick something that completely wrecks the other mid, or if you pick a mid that has some great matchups, but then it has some really weak ones, well, the other team can exploit it too.
Yeah, if you're picking your Tinker 9th, they could just 10th pick a Zeus.
Yeah, too real.
That was a cheeky reference to the game me and Adam just played.
That didn't happen just 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, did that happen? Did I 9th pick Zeus like 30 minutes ago again, and then got 9th pick Tinker 30 minutes ago and got
with
Zeus?
With a PL on the team.
Question mark.
That's questionable. Sorry, I'm bringing up bad blood already. I'm on the phone.
I think mids. You don't want. I mean, unless you're immortal, super top tier, you can play anything. I think mid, it's not unreasonable to have 5 heroes that you're. I think 5 for all of them for all positions is a very doable thing.
That's super sufficient. That's a lot.
5 is like way more than you need.
That's probably.
Well, it's just that they can. Well, some people. I mean, it gets a little old. Lich going to have your mana every game, so you got to branch out a little bit.
Yeah.
To break it up.
What I would say about climbing is I completely agree with you. Playing 5 heroes, just in general, that's great. Like, you can play 5 heroes in your ranked games, and that's going to be fine. But to be honest with you, just from our own experience, and I think a general rule is, if you just care about climbing and winning games, you need way, way fewer heroes than you think. When you climbed, you had basically 2 and Venge as well, but on the whole, Lich CM was really solid.
Basically
and for me, basically for me, I've climbed in 2 spurts. The first spurt was, I mean, I played more than just Underlord, but Underlord was the hero that was getting me my MMR, basically. I climbed from 2k to 3k with a 95% Underlord win rate, like it was disgusting. So basically I could have climbed the whole way with Underlord. And the second stint of climbing, I literally just played Lina and Meepo. So honestly, if there was some sort of way to stat this, probably the less heroes I've played or the less variety I've had is been indications of periods where I've climbed the most MMR.
Yeah.
So you really don't need to overcomplicate your heroes. You can honestly climb with 1 or 2. I mean, all the way up to probably way further than you think. You could probably climb to 6k with 1 hero. You know, honestly.
I mean, yeah, I just kept playing Crystalman and Lich, kind of expecting the peter out at some point, and it just kept going. And I said, well, okay, I'll just keep going with these. And then TI 8 meta came out, and I was like, oh, well, Silencer and Undying are pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Venge is a hero I always have liked. So just work those in if I think it works better with the lineup. And I think what's really, I guess, to go into why you want to just pare it down to bare bones to just a couple of heroes is that you get relatively, you get very good at that hero. You know the limits of the hero, how far you can push it, and then you can experiment with different item builds for a game. And you just know how far you can push the hero. You don't have to be thinking about, oh, what hero I'm going to pick. You just pick it, and then you can react to the game as opposed to trying to outsmart the other team.
Yeah, and another reason why you want a smaller hero pool is you want to try and be enabling yourself rather than countering the opponent, because naturally, just from playing Dota, you're going to have a specific role and a specific set of heroes that you're really good at, and other heroes and roles that you're not as good at, purely just from experience, let alone actively trying to learn roles and stuff. So you're way better trying to enable you playing those roles and heroes rather than trying to sort of react to, if I was a jack of all traits, what would be the optimum pick here? So you want to be trying to enable yourself. There's been many points where I've had games where I've thought, oh, this is an incredible Clinks game, or, you know, it doesn't matter what the hero is, but I know my leaner is like really solid, so it's always going to be better just to pick the leaner that's solid in an okay game rather than trusting my Ember Spirit to get me through because it's a perfect Ember game or whatever.
Right, because if it's a perfect whatever hero for the game, you might not have played that hero for 2 months, and then you're going to be missing CS because you don't know the animation, or you miss skill the wrong way because there's slight differences. I mean, there's so many things that go into why a hero is good, and if you haven't practiced it, well, a mediocre version of the best hero is going to be way worse than your best version of your best hero.
A final point I would make is I'm not certain how many games you need to play these days before you can play ranked, but the idea of honing in on a specialized hero, I would still discourage straight away. Don't, like, say if you're kind of new or relatively new and like keen to climb the medals and stars, I feel like there's massive benefit from, even if you just slam in on ranked for a while, to get a sense of all the heroes, all the positions, have some familiarity and a foundation before then. All right, during that progress, you figured out where your strengths were, and then you kind of specialize. I really feel like if it's necessary to do that, because we're speaking from the point of thousands of hours played. Okay, now hone in. If you've only got a couple hundred, that's still not enough to specialize in a hero.
Yeah, it's 100 unranked games, I believe, before you can start to play ranked.
I mean, I would honestly, I would disagree. If I was introducing someone to Dota from scratch, I would tell them to play the same hero 10 games in a row before they try a different one.
Yeah, 10's fine, but
that's
like,
quite a lot. 10 games is, like, I'd probably say, like, oh, go play DK for 10 games and you'll know what the hero's about.
When I first started, I played Lich 40 times before I tried a second hero. Like 6 years ago.
Why is Lich the hero that everyone starts with? Why is it?
Well, it was back when I started. It was either Lich or Wraith King. That's what, because Wraith King was one button, so that's obvious. And
because I searched on Google or Reddit or something, like, what hero is a good hero to start with, and found some threads where people had asked the question, and everyone was like, "Oh, Lich, great hero to start with, great hero to start with." Is it got a deny mechanic? Like, that's pretty new players understand that.
Lich is the type of hero that where even if they're very bad, they're still denying creeps, so you're actually still doing something.
Yeah, but you don't know what you're doing. You're like, I'm pressing the spell, but I mean, I don't know what this is.
Chainfrost, maybe it bounces the right way a couple times, and it's not.
Chainfrost is a great spell.
That's not to say Lich is very high skill. I don't want to, it's my second most played hero. I don't want to.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're all in agreement that you want to be playing. We talked about heroes a lot. We're all in the agreement that you want a role. to play when you're climbing? Do you think it makes your life a lot harder if you're jumping between roles?
I think 2 roles, if not 3, if you're a bit more experienced. But I think you should be able to play 2 because, say, you don't get that position 1 that you're vying for, or position 5, and then you're forced to play.
Oh yeah, of course. I don't mean.
Yeah, every 1 out of like 50 games, somebody would 2 other people pick support and be like, I don't play carry, and then I'd have to be.
Support's
carry all of a
definitely the
sudden.
one you could rely on the most.
It's because you're usually not fighting over it.
Yeah, it's usually the least popular one to play.
Of course, you need to be able to do a job on another role, because if you're trying to climb on mid or carry, you're not going to get that every game. I just mean there's no value in actively thinking, I'll queue and try and play support this game, or I'll queue and try and play mid this game. Probably best to stick to one. But, I mean, this is secondary, really, when we're thinking about winning. It's more important is obviously how you play, which we're not even going to touch, because how could we possibly do a podcast on how to play better Dota? That's like the entire topic of the entire podcast right there.
Yeah, it's every episode.
That's every episode combined, yeah. This is more of just a mindset thing, but go ahead.
I just think that you change your Steam name to position 1 only or feed, and then you get carry every game. I think that's how that works.
Yeah, mid or toss. The weird thing is that this is sort of like the dark conversation here. You come in whispered tones here, but is there any value in actually doing that? I mean, I've genuinely thought in my mid climbing, because I like to play mid, it's my favourite role, I've been tempted to just mid and be like, not mid or feed, because that's stupid, because you're never going to meet these players again, so that you gain nothing. It's not like they're going to remember your tag. But just being like mid, not going to roll, just like pick Lena, like just.
I don't think you can't roll. I think you have to roll.
I mean, I roll. I've never done that, but rolling is because I love rolling too much.
It just sets the team off. I know when I see it, I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. It just starts to trigger the team right from the beginning. Like, we're going to get one of those dual mid games where it just ends. Or
I think I'm only attracted to that. I mean, I'm attracted in it in the sense that I do it because I love rolling for mid. It's like when the other person that wants mid rolls, it's like the best thing ever, because I know there's not going to be confrontation. But just in my experience, when someone first picks Invoker after I've won the roll for mid, I tend to just forget about it after like 5 minutes. I mean, I'm pissed off at the start and I won't pull him a tango or something. Then after that,
I think you're more PMA than the average person.
Yeah, that's pretty PMA of you.
I think a lot of people would get major triggered and you'd screw.
Yeah, that's where they pick Nature's Prophet and then just TP into their fountain over it.
Yeah. So yeah, long run. I mean, it's definitely don't do that. 1, because it's bad for the game. 2, it's bad for the game in the sense it's bad for the
team and
the community.
Yeah.
But also it's bad for your MMR.
The PMA in the long run is always going to pay dividends. The positive karma, it'll come back.
It's a slippery slope as well.
Yeah.
If you're the kind of person that's going to lock your carry without rolling, that indicates a mindset of I'm above these people. Like or either I don't care or I'm above them, and that means that if your team starts losing or something, you're just going to be like, these I can't win. They're below me. It's a slippery slope. Of PMA, anti-PMA-ness. Just to dial it back, not dial it back to how many heroes you should have, but in terms of learning new heroes, one thing I do think is very valuable about heroes is if I'm ever in a slump, or if I am feeling bored of Dota a bit, learning a new hero then I think is an incredible tool. Most of the time I'm hungry for ranked games, but if I'm ever bored of Dota or I don't feel like playing, pick up a new hero and spam some unranked. That's a great way to get yourself back in the mood for some games.
Yeah, it's so incredible how many heroes there are you can play.
Yeah.
So cool. So yeah, there's no way that you've mastered every one of them. It's a pretty good suggestion.
And I would stress, or at least from my point of view, I would never just try to do a hero in ranked for the first time. I just
definitely not. Yeah.
Party ranked, I would, because I don't particularly care about that. But
don't say that too loud.
Well, as someone who's party ranking is 1800 lower. It's just like it's never going to catch up to my solo. So I use it as a grounds for trying things. Unranked games, I think, is definitely the way to try and learn something. And that's not even from like being a negative Nancy, because man, back in the back when all random was still a mode. I mean, it is a mode now, but back when you actually got 825 gold and it was still really fun. You'd be on a hero you hadn't played before, and you play maybe a little subpar. You always get these people that would flame you and be like, oh, "You haven't played all the heroes yet? Why are you doing all random?" Like, that's the complete opposite of how this mode's supposed to work. Like, you're supposed to try and learn. I mean, single draft and all random are like, ooh, I have to pick from these things I've never done before. Let me learn this hero. It's not like, oh, I've mastered every hero now. Now I can truthfully do all random the way it was meant to be played.
We'll talk about mindset in a second, but before we do, mini quiz game. How many of my 8 unplayed heroes can you name?
Ooh.
This is top quality podcast content for all the listeners out there that do not give a flying fuck about my hero pool.
Chen?
Nope.
I think Stan has played Chen.
I honestly,
Okay. This has gone too far. You actually can't name any of them.
I bet they're actually just like normal heroes. You know what I mean? Like just standard heroes.
Can I look at the heroes?
Oh wait, you haven't played like Dark Willow, or?
Of course, I've played Dark Willow. I've played like 20 games.
What am I thought you hadn't played like any of the new heroes.
Okay, I'll give you
ones.
I'll give you the standard heroes that I haven't played.
2 in mind. Arc Warden.
I've played Arc Warden.
Have you played Brood?
No, I haven't played Brood. That's one of them.
That's
one of the hard heroes I haven't
played. Oracle?
Haven't played Oracle.
Wow.
Haven't played. Did you ever play Invoker? I know you kept saying at some point, "Oh, I might
I've
learn
played
Invoker."
Yes, I've played Invoker.
Okay, so here's the
heroes. Yeah, here's the. I'm just going to give you the heroes that you'll be like, oh my god, how have you not played these heroes? I never played Shadow Demon.
Oh, that hurts me.
Never played Timber. Never played Tiny. Never played Winter Wyvern.
Did you say Tiny?
Yeah, I haven't played Tiny. Never played Tiny. I've got like got like 2,500 hours of Dota. Never played
Tiny's a cool hero, man.
Never played Brewmaster.
Wyvern's a cool hero. Literally a cool hero.
Yeah, Wyvern's a cool hero. I've never cast Winter's Curse.
Oh,
you haven't lived, man.
I know, yeah. And then rounding off is Brewmaster, which I just mentioned, and also Morphling I haven't played.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
There you go.
They're not even like Brew's like the only micro intensive kind of.
And Marco, am I right in thinking you haven't played Techies?
You're gonna have to give me 30 seconds. Go ask Adam something.
Okay, Adam's played every hero.
I've played all the heroes. Yeah, that's
really
all heroes.
That's just a product of randoming for 2 years.
Yeah.
Interesting question for you two. I think there's actually 2 heroes I've never played. Can you guess the second? So I think the first one is Techies. Yeah, no Techies. I think that's quite a good
Grimstroke.
Quite good morals to have. Yeah, never played Grimstroke.
Oh, that's interesting.
He's the newest, though.
Yeah. So
moving on.
Let's move on. Yeah, mindset.
That will all be cut.
That will almost certainly all be cut. You'll just hear me saying I've never cast Winter's Curse, and then we'll start talking about PMA.
Yeah.
Anyway, in terms of getting your mindset in a position that's the best to climb in Dota, there's plenty of things you can do, and plenty of attitudes you should have when you're playing a game of Dota. One thing, I'll just start with something that I do a lot and try to do a lot, and that's talking on mic. It's so important. Even if you have the rest of your team muted and you're just giving out commands to blank air, it's incredibly good value to just use your mic. What would you say about using your mic and the value it brings to your team?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as you're going to use it in a constructive manner and is never for negative flame or whatever, it's so useful. So useful.
Yeah, I think the most important thing with the microphone usage is how you deliver your message. It's all about the delivery, because if you go the passive aggressive route, that is such a negative. Well, it's not even, and the thing is, you might not even realize saying it passive aggressively. It's kind of a trap you can fall into. What's the best way of delivering your message? I mean, you gotta. It's just tone, really.
Use a lot of we, you know, because that emphasizes the team.
It's all we over you, and it's also focusing on future things as opposed to past things.
I think it should be built up. Like, there's a lot of aspects of the game you can voice on comms, but I think the first level is basic kind of laning. If you've got two heroes and you want to be on the same page, like, okay, after this creep, let's go initiate, or you stun first and then I'll come and stun. That
stuff is omega value.
It's omega value, and then you can build up to, like Stan was mentioning, the more macro team play, like, okay, at 20 minutes or after I get this item, let's go into Rosh. Or you've also got the aspect of PMA team, like there might have been a screw up, but you keep everyone's morale up.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's you stun, like once they come up to try and get this CS, I'll stun, then you stun, I think we can kill, as opposed to, why did you miss that stun? Or why didn't you stun them there? That type of stuff is what sets people on edge.
Yeah.
It's like, and the only time if something doesn't work out like that, the only thing you should be saying is, oh, don't worry, we'll get him next time. Or we'll know what to do for next time. Not like, oh my God, why didn't you do that? Like, that's...
Yeah, your point about forward looking is super useful. If you can say, for example, you've missed this opportunity for a kill, someone might not have stunned, it's really useful to be like, okay, next time or just in the future, be looking to, maybe this is too basic, but kind of plant a seed in some other player's mind. Say if you can see a way for them to perform better, you can be like, oh, by the way, Lion, you should be looking to hide in the trees here so that you can wrap around and get a stun in the lane, and plant this seed of an idea that would help him improve his play, and then maybe that happens. Or you, for example, with James, when he plays Earthshaker, shout out to James, we plant the seed in his head, like, get stuck in with your Echo Slam. So forward looking, there's going to be a fight, get ready to be that guy who reinitiates. All right, this player now knows what they should be doing or what's best for them to do. Then the situation happens and they're ready, and boom, they execute it.
I think it's all forward looking. And another thing is, as much as we all want to believe it is this way, it is not. Nobody can read your mind. Like, nobody is in your head thinking the same way you are.
Yeah.
And if you don't throw out your opinion into the aether, like into the air for people to hear, they're not going to know. So you have to say, stun here, as opposed to, why didn't you stun here? You know what I mean? It's you gotta voice what you think is going to happen. And then also, don't wait for your core to not buy a BKB and then be like, oh my God, I can't believe you got this item instead of a BKB. Look at their quick buy and be like, hey, so-and-so, I think you should get a BKB because these things. Like, don't wait for it to go pear-shaped to start getting your message across.
Yeah. Another thing, just listening to the sort of examples of mic conversations you've been having, things that I've been thinking is, you don't want anyone to ever think that you're above them on your team. So I personally would always say, maybe you should buy a BKB, or maybe you should play from the trees here, because the information still gets off just as fine. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, they're saying maybe, so they actually don't know, so I won't do it. They will listen just as much.
Always maybes or I thinks. Never backseat game somebody.
Never you need or we need.
Right, that's one of the biggest ways you can tilt your team off the face of a cliff, is if you backseat game for them. Maybes and I thinks have this, I don't know, plausible deniability to them or something. It's just like, we're all just on the same level trying to win this game here. Maybe this will work. Let's try it.
Yeah, exactly. We're all on the same level. And another thing as well is everyone always has a reason, even when they've made a mistake. Even when it's a super basic mistake, everyone will have their own reason why they couldn't do that. Everyone has their reason, so it's always good to be understanding to an extent, you know. My example is wards. I'll always say, if we have no vision, I'll always say, maybe we should get some vision out if we can. I'll always say, like, if we can, or else the support. I mean, buying wards is such a meme one that I feel like it just auto triggers supports when someone says, "Can we get some vision?"
You were just supposed to spam "We need wards." I thought that takes care of the.
We need vision. We need vision.
To add to that, To add to that, it's similar to Adam's point of explaining, oh, I think you should get an item because, say with the ward one, what is helpful is, oh, not just we need wards, but circle on the map or ping, it'd be good to have a ward here. Because then you're actually offering something constructive. Because we need wards is just absolutely brain dead. Obviously, that's helpful, but you want to be helping people with the game. You want to be kind of smoothing the game for them. And if they can now go, okay, yeah, our carry understands better than me, where he's getting shafted vision-wise, I'll go ward, bang, great.
Yeah, I always say something like, we need more aggressive vision or something.
Honestly, drawing on the minimap is so value. I mean, when I'm playing solo games and stuff, it's such one of the strongest tools of communication when you don't even need to speak, but you can just draw lines of where you think the team should be moving, and then everyone's on the same page because everyone sees it and then comes together. And I really love the minimap drawing, and maybe it's a weird small point, but you can apply it to wars and team fights. And
and another one, while we're still talking about Mike, it's a really interesting subject in my opinion. It's always good to not take yourself too seriously on the mic as well. This podcast episode is quite a sort of take yourself seriously style thing. I mean, we're talking about circling areas we want wards for our supports as if we're like the gods of the game.
No.
But it's good it's good to not take yourself seriously. If you mess up or if you make a call that's bad, or this happens to me all the time where I'll say like, oh, we should probably get back, or I'll just press B, type like enter B, enter, just like the classic back. Then my team won't do it and they'll sort of win a fight. It's always nice in those moments, I think, to like mic, like, oh, shows what I know or something. Just keep the PMA going.
You're used to self-deprecating Brits, Dan. What are you on about?
But yeah, keep the good times
rolling. Yeah, you Brits
rolling.
and your self-deprecation.
Yeah, you got to keep the good times rolling. Throw out a woo when you get a kill. Throw out a nice la. Nice la!
Oh, yeah.
A celebratory drums now that we're in New Bloom.
Celebratory drums. Yeah. New Bloom hype. I need to get my win today for the like 1 million whatever you get for the
bonus
first win
points.
of the day.
Yeah, keep it PMA. That's the big takeaway. Say if you made the wrong call, it's always, if you just be like, oops, my bad. Man, no one does that anymore. If you just say oops, my bad, I think your win rate might jump 5%.
Yeah, people are so responsive if you accept responsibility for mistakes you make.
Yeah, they love that, yeah.
Because obviously everyone's pissed off when you make a mistake. Obviously we're all human. It's annoying if you don't accept it. If you do accept it, they'll move on way easier and keep focused. And that's what you need. You need your team focused, PMA, concentrating. You need yourself focused in PMA, like not getting in some argument or whatever.
When you're playing a game of Dota, it's a weird juxtaposition because in that moment, you're trying, all that matters is your team and your team winning. But that's your short-term goal. But your long-term goal is just to only get better yourself. You know, these 4 people that you're playing with, you're not going to play with them again. They might even be in the enemy team. So it's good to always have a particular focus on your own mistakes. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's good to bear that in mind when you're just playing a game of Dota. In terms of owning up to your mistake, the microscope needs to be most acutely pointed on yourself and your own play. So it's actually not just beneficial for your team's PMA to own up to a mistake, but also yours. You know, you want to be recognizing your mistakes as much as possible so you can improve on them. It's just a generally very beneficial mindset to have.
Also on the communication one, it's important to not get carried away with communicating to people or not chatting, but having discussions or even arguing. You need to keep it short and sweet because you need to be focused on the game and what's at hand. You don't need to be kind of like having a back and forth with someone about something that did or didn't even happen, or an item choice. Something like this is just such wasted brain power that you'll then slip up elsewhere, lose your focus. You should know when you've not been focused 100% because you can tell that, oh, I didn't really play that well, I didn't have that much impact. And it is about keeping your focus and don't fuck around with some unnecessary comms when...
Yeah, this is such an important point. I mean, we've been talking about using the mic for a while, so it might sound like this is some incredibly important thing. It's actually... in plenty of games, if comms is going bad and if people are responding badly to your comms, keep it to an absolute minimum. Don't go down a rabbit hole of tilt. Even if you're super PMA, you could be the most PMA person ever.
Yeah, you'll not help.
sometimes if your team's tilting or if your team's just like shut up, like being really responding bad, just stay stum, mute them all especially if they're being tilty and toxic or whatever. Just mute everyone, and then just absolute minimum comms, just very important things. Don't feel, just the most important things. Keep it to a minimum. That's really important as well.
The mute button, if you use that more often, you probably will increase your win percent 1 or 2%, because again, this idea of keeping focused and concentrating on the game, you can so easily get distracted with chat, just text chat, and that's just detrimental. You shouldn't be, or on the voice, even mute voice.
That's another underrated thing is about the mic is you can voice what you want to say so much quicker than typing. How many people have died because they're typing?
Yeah.
It's just the worst. And when people die because they're typing, because the sentence comes out like fragmented or...
Yeah, I've done that so much.
And it's like you said, if the team comms are going downhill, if they're already poisoned or sour, just don't, even if you're PMA, just don't add to the pot. It's better just to be...
Just mute them if they're going to be toxic in response.
Or just to not talk as much except for the main points, and just stick to pings or drawing. Yeah, just the quick little things. I don't usually go with the mute button, honestly, because I've had too many experiences where people start off toxic for one way or another, and then like the second a team, like you rebound, they're fine. So
yeah,
really, way more often I'll mute for ages. We start winning the game, I'll unmute, and it's like, oh my god, like back to mute we go, boys. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it is worthwhile putting it on and off.
You got to check every now and then. Another thing, I guess, that we haven't talked about is people saying that the game's over at
That's a big one.
No matter what point in the game. I mean, it's even more true if they say it within the first 5 minutes or something. Oh, this game's over. I want to stress, and this goes for us too. I think we want to keep saying that we are not gods of Dota by any means. That we are all bad. Everybody is bad unless you are top 50 of a server. And
not NA, but yeah.
Okay, top 10 of NA and top 50 of all the other servers. We're all bad, and just because someone says the game's over does not mean it's over. People throw all the time. People get overconfident all the time. No game is lost until your throne is down. So keep trying.
Yeah,
always try.
And yeah, it is a very prevalent point, because it's pretty common that people give up. It's kind of natural, like human, like, oh, this is too hard, or the chance we're going to win is too low, I'm not going to try anymore. But it's really important that you kind of respond well and as effectively as possible. So I think it's pretty, like a general rule would be like, no, you respond with a bit of PMA, like, no, keep your head up. Hopefully you can help them rebound, positive, get the focus back. Sometimes you get like a really emo person that doesn't respond well to your optimism, in which case I think for your own benefit you just gotta ignore them, mute them, make the game go as well as you can.
They might give up, but if you make a smoke with the other 3 people and you go kill somebody, they're like, wait a second, we might actually have a chance, and then it's so easy to get them back into it.
The important thing to do in that situation when people think the game is over is to concentrate on this little small steps. That's what I would tend to do. If someone's like, oh, the game's done, like, oh, this anti-mage is too foul, whatever it is, then just be like, oh, let's just gank this anti-mage, or let's just kill this hero, and then we'll see. Don't bother thinking about the whole game, because if you're thinking of the whole game in one go, then sure, people are going to be like, oh, well, we're behind, so we're going to lose. So just think, oh, just do the little things, just get your item, and then we'll see where we are, do you know?
Right.
Yeah, also people over-exaggerate at times. Say with the anti-mage example is a classic. Someone types in chat, anti-mage has been free farming for 10 minutes. GG, and it's like, okay, 10 minutes later you get the throne because you just like ball up or something and the anti-mage never comes online.
90% of people are what? Below like 5k, not even that, like 4.5k. Doesn't matter how long anti-mage has been farming, like, we're crap players. He's just going to blink into your team without realizing they're there. Die.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's fine.
That's like, oh no, anti-mage has a 17-minute Battle Fury treads, or 15 minutes. Okay, he's still got to farm like 10k worth of items after that.
All sorts of
and
stuff.
And like, he's not going to cast counter spell correctly, and we'll just kill him.
Yeah.
He still only has 1,000 health for like 30 minutes. So
Well, one thing I would say as well, just you mentioned about only concentrate on what's ahead of you, don't sync to what's behind you. And you said that largely in the context of communicating with your team. That's equally important for you. And this is something I suffer from. I think, Marco, this is one of your strongest points, in my opinion, is if I do a really stupid death or do something bad in the game, too often it will spiral, and then the rest of my game will be negatively affected because you get to a turning point when you make a mistake of, this is my motivation to now play perfectly from this point on, new leaf, like turn a new page, classic psychology stuff. Or like, oh, I'm so bad, I can't believe I'm playing bad. Like, oh, this game's really bad. I can't believe I'm not playing as good as I wanted to. And that's like a backwards mindset of looking into the past, prior expectations. You should be constantly setting yourself new expectations set from the present. Like, you know what I mean? This is just a reiteration of always look forward.
Yeah, I think it's in that when you die, I mean, this is hard to do in every game. There are so many things to be thinking about in Dota. It's so complex. But when you die, you really need to think about why did you die. Often say you're position 1, you might have been farming too far up the lane and not been thinking enough about where enemy heroes on the map. You might have been thinking too much about getting your last hit. And then the way you'd have to readjust is, I need to think more about where are the enemy heroes. Okay, and I'll think less about what my item's going to be, or let's focus on this creep in. And even then, and that's kind of the same for the mid. You might die to something, but then you've got to think, all right, why did that happen? Oh, I moved forward a bit too much against this Viper, or I got caught by this X or the Invoker combination. I need to think about not letting that happen again. And it really is just learning from your mistakes. But it's hard because you're in the middle of a Dota game, which is super demanding, but it is all about learning from your mistakes. And I think you can actively try and do that in the game to not repeat it.
And then also you can, when you die, look at the damage breakdown, and it's a really nice way of seeing what exactly you died to, and you can itemize to prevent it later. So that goes, it goes together with, oh, maybe I walked too far forward, or you just got to check it from all sides, and and you can minimize those things happening in the future.
This forward-looking attitude also applies to when the game finishes. Once a game's done, like, it's done, and never engage with someone in like a post-game discussion or something. Like, it's just always negative value for like your PMA. Watch replays and stuff like that, obviously, but don't get dragged down.
Often when I die, particularly in party games, it pisses me off because I know that I've made some mistake, and then that kind of gives me a spur of, okay, I'm going to really focus and I'm going to really concentrate, and then that's where the improvement comes from.
No player other than maybe guest legend PMA Nick has not had un-PMA moments. There's just no way. It's not possible. I mean, I'm lucky because I've been cleansed from trying to play Street Fighter, which is like the most
rage-inducing game.
The most rage-inducing game of all time. So Dota's like a walk in the park now. I mean, that's not even remotely true. I'm just exaggerating. No,
it's like StarCraft 2 definitely helped me deal with
resilience.
Yeah, for sure. Because in this game mode, I can blame 4 other people instead of just myself.
And also the mistakes are more accumulative in Dota 2, whereas in StarCraft I feel like
one mistake and you lose.
Yeah, I didn't raise my depot, so Baneling's got on my base. GG.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back next week to talk more StarCraft 2.
But I'd like to say, so in this kind of reflective mindset, which should only ever happen after the game's finished, because it's utterly zero value within a game to think about the past. Or not the past, so like why you died, think about that and don't repeat that again. But say, if there was a mistake and then you get hung up on a mistake, obviously that has no value.
Right, just use the death cooldown timer to think about it, and then and what you're going to do to correct it, and then get back in the game. Like,
but post game I think it is really value, even if you kind of just sit for a minute or look at the graph and see how your goal chart develops. Literally think for a minute, or maybe watch the replay. That's a bit more effort. But where could you have done better? Okay, I've got 5 deaths. Say I'm on a pos 1. What were the reasons for each of those deaths? Why did they happen? What should I have done to not make them happen? Or there might be key moments in the game, like key team fights. Okay, why did this team fight not go as well as it should have? This was really game defining. Oh wait, maybe you were jumping in on the DK and, maybe I should have held off using my blink forward for a few seconds so I could get a better target. These kind of questions, they're really good ways to improve your gameplay.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, we're sort of tiptoeing around this weird paradox of you want to reflect in some ways, but you also don't. So I suppose a way of putting it would be, you want to be able to cognitively reflect on things you did well, but you don't want to emotionally reflect on your death. So I suppose the dream situation is you're able to look back and think of all the bad things that have happened in this game and cognitively and process them without any emotional baggage of your deaths or whatever. That's like the dream, but obviously it's difficult. So
yeah, I think it's reasonable for whenever you die, rather than be like, I'm pissed off that I'm dead, or just any kind of throwaway thought. You really should think, okay, why did I die? What could I have done better in that instance? Okay, now you're alive. I'm going to be a bit more proactive to not make that happen again, and then go from there.
Yep. We more or less wrapped up certainly mindset, and we also talked about hero pools. We've sort of taken a bizarre route through this episode because in many ways your PMA mindset is a totally different subject to your hero pool. They should really be two separate episodes. But
yeah, I wonder what people expect from this episode when they start listening. If they think this is one magic trick to gain MMR, and then they listen, it's like, okay, don't play a ton of heroes and use your microphone. Like that's
but it's such an interesting topic, and we absolutely will revisit these.
Yeah, there's a whole, to second to what Marco just said, there's a whole subsection we were going to talk about, 1/3 of the podcast, about very basic little things to do, kind of connected to mindset, in-game mindset things like, I'll just say them in one sentence, just to give you a taste. We'll certainly come back to them, but just, do what your team needs, doesn't matter what your position is, you buy wards on cores, etc., buy team items, just blah, blah, stuff like that. We're not even going to go there because we don't have time, and
that just goes into like, let's talk about like maybe a support centric episode, not like our position 4 podcast, but the like how to play a support in a game is when we would go down to all of these things about how I climbed and with the support.
There are I think it's interesting how there are definitely general kind of tips. I don't really like the word tips, but general ideas that apply to position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like kind of like you say, Stan, your point about what the team needs. A big one for me is thinking about what items you're going to build in the strategy phase, in the picking phase. Like be proactive about that because it makes massive difference. It's basic things like learn to last hit, basic things like always to be map aware.
I see. We're just aching to make more podcasts. I can tell. There's so much to discuss. I know.
So many episodes.
Yeah, there is honestly so many episodes to come.
I'm waiting for that 7 Deadly Sins podcast. I'm excited for that.
That's coming. That's 7 Deadly Sins is in the pipeline.
Which one was that again?
Oh, we're gonna do like 7 Deadly.
The 7 Deadly Sins of Dota 2.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah.
But also, I feel like now we've set the precedent with our Position 4 podcast, we have to do the others.
Oh, for
sure.
Yeah,
they were really fun.
We'll get around to them as well. But anyway, this one needs to wrap up because we've been going for a while, and I feel like this is an endless topic, honestly. Even just PMA, endless topic. So I hope...
But it's fun to touch on.
Yeah, and we've come at it with a blunt instrument in terms of our planning. I'd love to not have another go in the sense that this was a failure at all. I think it's been really, really good. But this is certainly something to come back with and knuckle down on some more details. But in any case...
I mean, these are broad strokes, and then we'll hit the details later.
Exactly.
In later episodes. Because the broad strokes are really important, and maybe people haven't thought about these things before.
Yeah, definitely useful ideas to think about. And
definitely, yeah.
Keep it light. You know what I mean?
Keep it light.
We're trying to have fun.
Yeah, no Flamerino, and you're going to gain those points easy.
No Flamerino.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining us, listener. I hope we brought some value to your ears. I really do. And I hope you'll join us again for some more podcasts coming out ASAP. Thanks to Marco and Adam as well.
Yeah, super enjoyable.
And maybe by the time we have our next podcast, I'll have my 10 calibration done.
Ooh,
and we'll see
that'd be exciting.
If I'm below Stan or not.
No, next podcast, it's going to be a 2-man podcast because Adam's in mourning after going 1-9.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big calibration podcast coming. We'll see you then.
Yeah, stay PMA.